Hey everybody, welcome back. Happy Friday. A hot week out here in Arizona. It's going to get hotter. It's supposed to be 114 over the weekend. Thank God for AC. I was without AC for about 24 hours. 4th of July, and I was doing a lot of cooking. It was hot outside. I thought it was just because of cooking and the people I had in the house was creating more heat. But as it turned out, it was actually a capacitor was blown. Because even after I got done cooking, everybody went home. Temperature was 83, 84, and just kept going up and up. And slept, it was pretty hard sleeping last weekend overnight. I was without AC for 24 hours, and it was just a blown capacitor. I got a new capacitor, and but yeah, it was up. The house got up to like 96 upstairs, 92 downstairs, and had to go down slowly. Because you said you couldn't we put too much pressure on the unit to try to get down to 75 right away. You keep it at 75, but got a text said, go down to, was it 90 first? And yeah, it took because he left like 4 o'clock, and it didn't get back to normal temperature until like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. It was a long process. Even after the sun went down, so he said, go down to 90. And he said, then go down to 85, then down to 80, then down to 75. He said, just be patient, and it'll be a long process. So it's all taken care of. I'm not a Trump fan by any means. I think, a lot of people can agree on that. It's just crazy right now that with this whole, I think this pandemic has just exposed him in a way. He's not really a proper, strong leader, but I do find, if anything, making the best of things. Definitely got to find him comical. He is definitely the most comical. I thought Bush was pretty comical, but Trump puts him to shame. I just want to talk about Trump's his nicknames. Just crack me up. I see him doing this. A lot of people have made that comment that name calling. It's the maturity. They said that he has like the maturity level, the mindset of a 5th grader, and I do think about that. I can see him maybe doing this. It's like this is what he does in the Oval Office. I can see him being discreet about it, but to make it public, it's like, this is what you do as president, even though some of these nicknames he probably had to begin with. So to start off with, obviously Joe Biden, we all know Sleepy Joe, and thought Elizabeth Warren was funny. He was calling her Pocahontas and a fairy tales, and everything about this woman's a fairy tale. She can't tell the truth. Like, you can't tell the truth either, buddy. James Comey, he was calling him Slippery James Comey. And Ted Cruz, he was calling him Lying Ted. Again, like, you don't lie. And I don't know why he would make up a nickname for, he's buddies with Kim Jong-un. You're definitely not a guy you want to piss off. I don't know why he'd create a nickname, make fun of him, but I think his nickname's pretty funny, Little Rocket Man. And he was calling Bernie Sanders Crazy Bernie, and also, he didn't even get married in Russia, Moscow. I guess after he got, it wasn't even a honeymoon, I guess after he got married, I don't even know if he had a honeymoon, but not too long after he got married, I guess him and his wife did some business over in Moscow, but it had nothing to do with his marriage or his honeymoon. I guess he joked around at the time, saying like, it was quite an interesting honeymoon, but it wasn't even a honeymoon, really. But, Trump was calling him a communist just because he got married in Moscow, but it's like, he didn't even get married in Moscow. But Crazy Bernie's him, and we all know Crooked Hillary. He was also calling her Crazy Hillary, Heartless Hillary. Bill Clinton, we recently learned he was calling him Wild Bill. Cheating Obama. Which I don't know what Obama cheated at. This guy, I've never heard Randolph Ellis calls him, I've never heard of him, but he's the director of the U.S. Secret Service, calls him Dumbo. I don't know anything about him. I guess Trump's implying that he's not the brightest guy, which Trump's not the brightest guy. Hunter Biden, where's Hunter? Where is he? That's what he calls him, where's Hunter? I don't know. I guess he thinks that Hunter is living in the world of mystery or something like that. He's never really been clear as to why he calls him that. Mike Bloomberg was calling him Mini Mike. John Bolton was calling him Wacko John Bolton. And Jeb Bush was calling him Low Energy Jeb. Pete Buttigieg, he was calling him Boot Edge. And Al Franken was calling him El Frankenstein. I'm going to save Punchy for last. It's a funny one. I got to kick off when I talk about Punchy or Robert De Niro. I'll get to that in a minute. John Kasich, who's a former governor of Ohio, I don't know if it's just because of his I didn't look into this. I don't know if it's because of his unsuccess attempts or whatever. He was calling him 1 for 38, and now he's calling him 1 for 44 most recently. And I guess it's just the way she looks, like Nancy Pelosi. She does have a nervous look on her face, which I think that's just the way she looks. Calls her Nervous Nancy. Glenn Beck, which I do think he is a wacko, psycho. He calls him Wacky Glenn Beck. Marco Rubio is calling him Little Marco. Megyn Kelly is calling her Crazy Megan. Don Lemon calling him Sour Lemon. Then this woman I never heard of, the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. And he's just calling her that woman from Michigan. That sounds kind of stupid. I don't really get that one. There's a lot of governors I don't know from all the states. Boris Johnson, he's the Prime Minister of UK, calls him Britain Trump. Let's see here. And then there is a guy, I haven't heard of him, Joe Scarborough. I guess he's a co-host of this morning show I've never even heard of called Morning Joe. I don't know anything about this guy. He calls him Morning Psycho. That's pretty funny. Well, yeah, I wanted to go back to, that was it, but I wanted to go back to Robert De Niro Punchy. I think, what was that, about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, when there was that awards ceremony in Canada, and Robert De Niro was he was apologizing for Trump's behavior to the Canadians and saying, I just got one thing to say, fuck Trump, and then Trump, I guess, when he acted like he had so much going on, so he had such a full day, but yet he had time to be on Twitter knocking Robert De Niro. But it's kind of funny in a way, because he called Robert De Niro Punchy. He said, like, oh, yeah, I saw Robert De Niro, what he said about me last night, and he's like, I'm thoroughly, because Robert De Niro has been in, like, a few movies where he got hit by boxing. Well, he played it was that one movie, The Raging Bull, where it was, I forget what the boxer's name is, but it was based on a true story of a professional boxer, and they said there were like 2 other movies where he got hit by boxers. But he said, yeah, I watched Robert De Niro last night, and I'm thoroughly convinced that he's punch drunk from taking too many hits to the head from professional boxers in movies. And he stated 3 things that aren't true at all, but he said, like, oh, I guess he doesn't realize that the economy is the best it's been ever, which it's not, even before this pandemic. And he said, like, unemployment's at an all-time low, which even before this pandemic it wasn't. And he said jobs are pouring back into this country, which they aren't. And he said, well, yeah, I guess Robert De Niro doesn't realize all this stuff. And he's like, wake up, Punchy. So yeah, that's all have on that. I did have one job where these friends of mine, they were young in their early 20s, but yeah, I was like 27, 28 at the time. I was working at Menard's warehouse distribution center, but yeah, they were bored, and they were getting a kick out of making up nicknames for like so many of the people that worked there, a lot of bosses. And there was this one boss I thought was kind of funny. He actually looked like a fish. He had like the fish eyes, so kind of like Rodney Dangerfield eyes, looked like a fish. And then his office was outside of there was like administrative office behind the warehouse, and the desk that he sat at was right by this rectangular window. So he looked like a fish, and then his desk was right behind this window that actually looked like an aquarium. So if you have those like 2 things, we used to call him Nemo, because he looked like a fish, and then he sat behind this window that looked like an aquarium. And I guess somebody else had come up with that nickname too, or had that same thought process, because one of the supervisors overheard somebody saying Nemo, and some said, "Oh yeah, he said, like, what are you talking about, Nemo?" And I said, "Well, just between you and me, I said we call Jim Nemo because he looks like a fish, and said his window kind of looks like an aquarium." And he's like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "to tell you the truth, a lot of people have said that." So I guess it wasn't really an original idea, original thought, original nickname. So yeah, that's all I have to say about now. That's all I have to say for right now. I'm gonna do some shopping and then just relax on my weekend before I go back to work. So comment, like, share, subscribe. Have a great weekend, everybody, and I'll see you all real soon. Another great video. Have a great weekend, everybody. Love you all. Bye.